Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the White Sox Did What podcast, where we discuss all things that the White Sox just did, because sometimes we don't understand what did the White Sox just do sometimes. And this is definitely going to be one of those episodes. Again, this is me, your favorite co-host, Harry, followed by your other favorite co-host, JJ3. Say hi to everybody, JJ3.
Yo, what's going on? We back. We back
And
for a
we
little minute.
we missed a lot. It was a whole cluster F happening last 2 weeks. I don't know where to start, but because we missed last week's episode, I'm going to start with something a lot more easier, which a lot of people didn't touch on. We're going to discuss the draft to start off. We're not going to discuss the whole draft because we don't want to bore you with what draft details, but we will discuss the first pick of the draft that we took, I believe, number 5, Hagen Smith. Pretty good left-handed pitcher. Set a whole bunch of records.
Pictures.
Yeah, I believe he's from Arkansas. I guess he's what? Cease was a right-handed pitcher, but there's rumors of him. His best pitch is his fastball. There are rumors of it being Sale-esque. So if we're keeping Crochet with this new guy Hagen, it might be a nasty combo. I don't know when it'll pan out because we kind of suck right now. But he gets 17 strikeouts per 9 innings, which is the most in D1 history. So we might arguably have taken the best left-handed baseball college pitcher ever. So if that translates to the pros, we're cooking with hot grease. Definitely the best lefty in the draft. In my opinion, we did need more position players, not more pitchers, but I'm not mad at this pick. We had a chance a two-way player named I think Caligione, and he's a first baseman, but we do have Vaughn playing first base. But with the draft as big as the MLB draft, you just take best player. You don't necessarily always have to go position. And we can always move Vaughn back to outfield, where he was actually pretty decent, even though he's the Abreu heir apparent. People keep talking about him. But Royals took that guy. Outside of that, Buddy looks pretty good. Yeah, it's kind of all I got. What are your thoughts on him, JJ3?
The Sox love themselves some left-handed starting pitching. The one thing that you can count on the White Sox to do properly is evaluate, draft, and raise up starting pitchers. Left hand or right hand, the track record is there. You already pointed out the preference for a position player. I had the same preference. I would have preferred someone who's in a position player that will play every day, just to be perfectly honest. Just because so frequently the White Sox are going to lean towards pitching. It is just a habit that they can never break. So my preference would have been draft a position player. Try to start elevating that lane and get better in that regard. But he's an SEC pitcher. He's been shown to be highly productive. He's been shown to be a flamethrower. Those aren't negative traits or qualities to have in any starting pitcher. I think it'll be quite some time before we see him up, though. So let's not get ahead of ourselves unless he gets placed on that Chris Sale path where he just gets completely pushed through the minor league system on a rocket ship. I don't think you're going to see him anytime soon. I will put the ETA on this kid probably sometime in 2027, 2028. And that's me being optimistic. I mean, we halfway through 2024.
That's a long
right
time.
Now.
We'll all be dead by then.
He just got drafted. Speak for yourself, bro. I'm trying to be here for a little bit. But he just got drafted 2 weeks ago. So, unless they put a rocket ship to his back and they send him straight to the majors, don't expect to see him next year. Don't expect to see him the year after that. Expect to see him, like I said, 2027, 2028, assuming everything looks good, assuming he's performing up to expectations or exceeding expectations. Other than that, White Sox fans shouldn't count on seeing him right away. That would be my expectation. It's going to take some time, and it should be that way for prospects, especially pitching prospects, unless everything he does is completely lights out. And I don't anticipate that being the case right away.
That makes sense. All right, no, good stuff. Like to got to talk about the draft a little bit. Um, I'm necessarily again, I'm not the biggest fan of when the MLB drafts, but I get it because of the spotlight plus the well, yeah. Just I'll leave it at that. Just the spotlight. Any thoughts on any issues or anything like that with the MLB draft?
Well, I mean, the MLB draft. I mean, baseball is a long season, right? It starts in the spring, it ends in the wintertime. And after it ends in the winter, baseball has their traditional winter meetings where GMs and executives meet. They have their trade discussions and trade talks. Players, whom we'll talk about later on in this episode, get discussed by various teams as possible trade possibilities and options. Rule changes get discussed during that time. So MLB doesn't typically hold their draft immediately or following the end of their season like the NBA does, like the NFL does. They do it during the middle of the season. Again, there's no other sports going on during that time. There's nothing to compete with them in terms of a sports calendar. They've got the spotlight all to themselves. Now, we could argue how bright that spotlight is on a middle of the day in a weekday. Maybe it's not that bright. Maybe baseball could do something to elevate that. But that's why they hold it during the season as opposed to holding it at the end of the year. Because if they tried to hold their draft in the winter, well, now you're competing with the NFL. Now you're competing with the NBA. Now nobody's thinking about you.
But it's a draft. I feel like every year the draft happens with either NHL or MLB. Everyone's surprised, like, oh crap, MLB had a draft today. That's the consistent messaging I've heard from everyone. So to me, it wouldn't actually even matter when they have it because the same thing is going to be said every day they have a draft. Oh crap, we had a draft today. Seems to be the running theme with a lot of people in the MLB draft. But that's just me.
No, I feel you. I understand what you mean. But that's the reason why it seems as though they do it, though, because in their minds, the way they have done their evaluation is they could do it during the season, and they got the stage to themselves where everybody can talk about just their sport and their players being drafted.
On to the next topic that I didn't want to talk. I didn't think we'd get here, but we're here now. White Sox
we're definitely here.
Got swept for the 5th straight time, and we are on a 17-game losing streak after getting. I'm trying to keep this PG.
When do you normally keep things PG? What's happening? Did somebody replace my co-host here? What's going on with things?
I've gotten some enlightening. I don't want to be that guy. I'm trying not to be that sicko. I don't want to kick. I don't want to get them when they're down and pinned down. I don't want to get them.
It didn't even take 2 minutes for it to go left, though. That's how quickly you went from being I got to keep it PG to it going all the way left.
It was tough. It was tough. I don't want to be the weird serial killer creep that shows up after seeing all that damage and then goes, you know what? Since no one else is here, let me get my turn too. So I wanna have some grace with the White Sox because it's been a rough 2 weeks with a lot of random surprises. But 17-game losing streak. It is bad. And what's crazy is half those games we had the lead going into the 8th, and we still lost. And it is just terrible right now. I don't blame goes everywhere from I blame everyone but Crochet. Crochet gets not a single bit of blame. He is the only one I am leaving out the blame. There's Crochet by himself. Now let's talk about everyone else. It's just too much blame to go around. We'll have a strong lead from Fetty, from Cannon, from Flexen, from Crochet. Or it doesn't have to be strong, just a decent lead. Here comes the 8th inning, 9th, where I changed the channel because we're up 4-2, 6-2, and I changed back bottom of the 9th. What do you mean we're down 14-6? What do you mean we're down 10-4? It's been bad. I don't know what we can do to change it. Most organizations, this is definitely one of those, in my opinion. This is fire a manager mid-season, but this is Grifal's last season anyway. So what's the point of firing him when his contract, I believe, runs out this year because he's the second highest paid manager in baseball. We're 27-84 with 20 losses in our last 21 games. I don't know what the record is, but
I
we
believe it's
were on.
120. I think it's 120 losses is the record for most
The
of the
2013 Detroit Tigers lost 119 games.
119.
Dang. I really wanted to say it was the 1906 Cubs because any Cubs slander, I definitely wanted to throw in there with 116. All right, so Detroit, thank you guys for not allowing Cubs to have the worst record.
Pull alternative facts like they do on the like Donald Trump and them do, and just use alternative facts and just claim it was the scrub? And like,
yeah. Well, we'll just keep it. We got to take some Cub shots. We'll just keep it. We'll just keep. I said Cub shots. We got to take some Cub shots. We'll just. We'll just keep it. We'll just say it's a Cubs for now, and hopefully people ignore what our fact producing producer just forced on us. Said forced on us. But yeah, it's bad right now. I don't know what we can change. I don't know what we can fix. Usually I have some answers. Hey, let's trade for bigger bats, better pitching. But the locker room just does not have any cohesiveness. We don't have any discipline. Now there's that thing that happens to all bad teams where reporters are starting to say what players have said privately to them. And it seems like there's a bunch of players that say Grifol is a very, very nice guy, but he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. So what are your thoughts and how do you suggest we fix this shit, JJ3?
If we recall, I pretty much said that Grifol didn't know what he was doing months ago. So
correct.
It should come as no surprise to anybody. I said he should have been fired months ago. That should come as no surprise to anybody. I feel like he's incompetent. I feel like he's a terrible manager. His initial selection for this team as the manager made zero sense to me. So all around, the hire was completely idiotic.
So are you also attaching that idioticness to Getz? He should go too, or right now it's just Grifol taking the heat?
Well, I mean, Getz didn't hire him. That was Rick Hahn who made the actual decision to hire him, and Hahn has already lost his job. Getz, I wouldn't have elevated to the position of general manager that he's in right now, but that's a separate topic for another day. He shouldn't have gotten this promotion, but again, that's neither here nor there. Ultimately, though, fixing this team, and this will continue to lead into another topic that we have coming up, fixing this team there's not an easy solution for it, right? Getz, I said this, believe on a show we had 2 or 3 weeks ago. Getz, his goal at this point is to blow it up, right? His goal is to tear it down. He's pretty much made up his mind to start this rebuild over, even though they tried to say it wasn't a rebuild. This is a full-scale rebuild. He's shown his cards now that, yes, it's a full-scale rebuild. We're tearing it all down to the studs. Everything must go. You're in the midst of a 17-game losing streak right now that only further drives that point home for anybody that wasn't paying attention or, turn the TVs off or what have you, that this season is completely gone down the drain. There's no saving or fixing this year for the White Sox. There just isn't. We knew that coming in, that this was going to be a tough year all the way around. And we never hid from that fact. The White Sox organization should not have hid from that fact either. So fixing it, not possible. All you can really do at this point is to plan and position yourself for the future as best as you possibly can beginning next year. Step one for that plan should obviously be firing Pedro Grifol at the end of the year. I think his contract runs through the end of 2025. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. But I would jettison him as quickly as humanly possible and find somebody competent to run this team from a manager's perspective. It's not him. We knew it wasn't him. I said it wasn't him. Players knew it wasn't him. Fans knew it wasn't him. Media knew it wasn't him. He wasn't good enough to be the manager for the Kansas City Royals when he was in Kansas City when we hired him from there. Not only did we hire him from Kansas City, we also signed players from Kansas City. So we went ahead and took a bunch of players and members of the Kansas City Royals organization and brought them here thinking it would make a difference, and it hasn't. It's just a terrible, foolish business model and practice that the White Sox exercised here. It's all bad. It's all a failure. There's no fixing it right now. Throw it all out in the trash. Set it on fire, burn it, don't look back, start over again anew. That's what you should be thinking about doing.
It is bad right now.
And not even all the losses have been blowout losses. I mean, they've had some beatdowns, though, that's for sure. I mean,
absolutely.
They've gotten kicked in the head. They've had some 10-3s, 10-2 losses. They've gotten smoked. But they've also had some 2-1 losses, some 3-2s, some 4-3s. Losses where, like you said, they've been in the lead after the 6th, 7th, sometimes 8th inning, where they've been right there and the win is literally in your grasp. And all you have to do is just send a guy out there to close and you walk away with a W. And they have not been able to do that, which was a consistent pattern that we highlighted weeks ago. I mean, I literally rattled off the stats at that time about how many losses that they had after the 6th inning, how many times they would go in with the lead, and then after the 6th or the 7th, they would just fall apart. So there's a lot wrong, right? To just make that as baseline and simple as I could possibly make it, right? There's a lot wrong with this White Sox team that cannot be fixed overnight.
Well, do you think we break the all-time loss record? Because it's getting closer and closer.
At the pace that they're on right now, it definitely looks like it.
Now, is it fair to say, in my opinion, the team is now officially should be built around Crochet, Robert, and Vaughn? Those are the big three. How Moncada survived the big exodus, I'm shocked, but it looks like we're basically
rehabbing still.
Yep.
I mean, they put his rehab on hold for the time being because of expected soreness. Something I've never really quite heard. We're going to stop.
But you can still trade injured players because Scherzer got traded injured, right? And then he just finished his rehab on the Texans from the Mets. So you can still trade injured players, correct?
I mean, if you can, then good on them. But maybe simply nobody wanted Moncada.
That's what I'm more thinking.
He's not Max Scherzer, so maybe nobody wanted him. Maybe that's the simpler answer to go with. Brace yourself.
Well, we'll see what happens. But
there's at least another 40 losses coming.
Can we avoid the all-time?
like there's a lot of losses left on this schedule, right? You're 27-84. The over-under, place your bets. What happens first at 27-84? Somebody put money on this. At 27-84, do you win your 30th game before you lose your 100th game?
Yes.
Okay.
Watch. We're going to get there.
Okay. Because you're on a 17-game losing streak right now.
It's got to end sometime.
And
longest losing streak in franchise history.
It's got to end sometime. But just because it ends sometime doesn't mean another losing streak doesn't start.
True.
And we can look at the schedule in a little bit. I've already looked at it some. Are there winnable games on the schedule? Absolutely. It's baseball. There's a lot of winnable games on the schedule in the course of a long season. There's definitely a lot of L's coming. So
no, I do agree with that. I don't think we'll win many series, of course, but I do think we'll win games. We'll definitely win our third game for the 100th loss.
I haven't looked up any prop bets or anything like that. I haven't looked at anything, but I'm curious. Can you win your 30th? Can you get your 30th victory before your 100th loss? So that means winning 3 games before you lose another 13.
Let's have our producer bet against the Sox to do that and watch us not lose again. That's what we need. When he stopped betting, the losing streak started. So here we are.
I already have my futures for your 105 losses.
Oh, petty. All right, on to the next subject. Let's discuss this whirlwind of trades. Some expected, some unexpected that happens. First big trade that was on the board: Los Angeles Dodgers trade the White Sox. We get their their backup. You saying?
So I was gonna say let's actually talk about who was not traded first.
Okay, we could talk about the elephant in the room
because
if you want to introduce this topic, go ahead.
The definite elephant in the room, obviously, the most talked about player at the trade deadline is the guy that you dubbed the best pitcher in baseball.
Unarguably the best pitcher in baseball.
There you go. I won't argue against you.
Take that, Paul Skeens.
That was props to Paul Skeens. He's a good pitcher.
Yes.
Garrett Crochet did not get traded, despite all the rumors, despite all the talk, despite all of the speculation that went on for several weeks of time. He did not get traded. Neither did Luis Robert, by the way. Is there a little bit of surprise in that, first off, from you, that Crochet especially did not get traded, even though we both had speculation about where he could end up?
No surprise from me, simply because it feels like a lot of people were attacking Getz for that trash trade we did for Cease. And I do feel like people like, hey, if you're going to trade Crochet, you want to get a haul. So I feel like there's a combination of Crochet's interference and not wanting to play in playoff games unless he gets an extension, which I don't think is too out the way. Some do think it's out the way, but I think if a team trades for Crochet, that's a guy that's going to come in 95% of teams as your number one. So extend him if you're trading for him. But I also, in my opinion, think Crochet is going to get a big haul. And I don't think there are teams in position ready to give up a big haul for Crochet to come in and usurp their number one, which in my opinion, right now, he probably does usurp your number one. Who's got the money for that to pay right now, and who wants to give up a haul right now for Crochet? I thought the Dodgers are going to, because they're the Dodgers, but instead they pulled a okey doke and they got a pretty good Flaherty, who's probably second to third in their rotation behind Glass now. Probably not Kershaw, because Kershaw's kind of out his prime, but behind Glass now. And then I think Yokota would probably fall at fourth, that Asian pitcher. But of course, they also have Ohtani, who's really going to be their second if he pitches again next season, not this season. Then I thought Orioles would be a good one, but Orioles ended up getting Rogers from the Miami Marlins, which is a great pickup because I thought he was a sleeper guy, but I thought he was also young. I haven't looked up his age, but I'm pretty sure he was a young pitcher that had some heat. I didn't think they were going to go that route. I thought they were going to go for an ace, not another guy to be fourth or third in their decent rotation. So I am not too shocked Crochet didn't get traded. I'm more shocked Robert didn't get traded, because every team wants everyday guys, more bats. He's a five-tool guy. Every team could always use an outfielder that can hit 25 to 30 home runs and 90 RBIs. I know he's injury prone, but take that away, I thought teams would still take a chance because he's still on his young contract. I was really shocked Robert didn't get moved. I'm happy he didn't get moved. And Moncada was my third. I thought for sure he'd get moved because a lot of teams could use a third baseman. He's injured, but maybe there's no timeline on when he'd get healthy. So that's probably why teams didn't touch him with the 10-foot pole. So the guys that did get moved, that we got a lot of really cheap stuff for them. So that's my opinion on why they got moved. Like, let's get whatever we can for whoever we can. But there wasn't enough people giving Getz what he wanted for Crochet. And combine that with Crochet needing a contract extension before playoffs, which to me, again, isn't a big deal if you're going for a number one pitcher. If it was a number 3 pitcher or a number 4 pitcher in rotation saying that, absolutely not. Even a number 2 pitcher, you're like, no, I'm good. But a number 1 pitcher, he's what Scherzer was in his prime. Even though Scherzer really is still throwing heat, he's the Kershaw, he's the Scherzer right now with his start, with the way he's pitching. So if you like what Scherzer and Kershaw were doing in their prime, you should, in a snap, be ready to sign Crochet to a long extension. So I'm a little bit shocked that teams didn't jump it, especially the Phillies, but or at least teams that aren't too tied up in a ton of money would and need pitching would go after Crochet. Which again, we had the Orioles on our list. I had the Dodgers because apparently they have an unlimited paycheck. I had the Angels because they just really need pitching and they have all this money and they just randomly spend money. They don't ever spend a ton of money on a ton of players, but every once in a while they'll be like, all right, I like this guy, let's give him 200 million, and everybody be like, oh, what about the rest of the roster? Yeah, I thought for sure Angels would be on the list, Dodgers would be on the list, Yankees, because I don't know if they're confident they're even keeping Soto. What other good teams? Not the Braves. I think they're pretty set on their rotation, even though they'd love Crochet. They just don't want to pay another pitcher 150 million. I saw the Diamondbacks being a strong potential. They look like a team that needs an ace. I thought for sure they'd come after Crochet. So yeah, just a little bit shocked that teams weren't leaping at the Crochet sweepstakes and ready to give up the entire farm, which I think is what Getz was probably going for. And teams were kind of taken back because Getz set his own bar on that silly trade that he did for Cease, which wasn't a lot, and he is killing on the Padres. That's my thoughts on it. What are your thoughts?
So I am surprised that he's still on the White Sox for sure. It definitely caught me off guard a little bit based on I can't even say a little bit. Let me take that back. I didn't mean to say a little bit. It definitely caught me off guard by a lot. His demand completely shocked me and made me do a double take, because why are you making this demand public? Do you want to get traded or do you not want to get traded? Would be my first question. And if I was Chris Getz, that would be a question that I would pose directly to Crochet and his agency and his representation. Like, do you want to get traded now or do you not want to get traded now? Because to demand an immediate contract extension when he's been great this year. There's no doubt Crochet has been great this year. He's been an elite, frontline, ace level starting pitcher. Can't say that enough, right? He's never done it in a playoff game as a starter, right? He's never hit every new inning that he pitches will be a career high in innings from this point forward. So for him to immediately come out and demand a contract extension from whatever team that acquires him was bold, ambitious, and foolish. And it was unnecessary, right? Like, you don't need to do that publicly. Do that behind closed doors. That's why you got an agent.
Did right? He announce it publicly, or the news?
I'm not saying he had a press conference and said, these are my demands. But those aren't things that should get out immediately right away, right? Like, that should be something that's kept under wraps for quite some time, that we shouldn't even hear about that until after the season ends or until next year. Like, you gotta be a little more tight-lipped about that. Pause, just in case, to where you just don't admit that publicly. You know what I'm saying? If your goal is to get traded from the White Sox, forcing other teams to sign you right away doesn't facilitate that trade to go through any faster, right? Because now that team, let's take the Dodgers, for example, we already have to trade away 2 or 3 of our best prospects in our system. But now we got to immediately take you on and pay you, what, $180, $200 million immediately right away. When
I'm not mad at that.
We don't know if your arm is going to break down again. We don't know if you're just going to get tired, right? You may just have a dead arm all of a sudden at the end of the season, right? Just because of normal fatigue, because you've never pitched 200 innings in a year. So by the time we get to October, you might be useless. So we just traded for you. We just extended you. And now for the stretch run where we really wanted your services, you may be useless to us. Right? Like it wasn't a smart chess move on his part or his agent's part to let that information leak out or to even put that information out there into the atmosphere. Hold on to that. Keep it close to the vest. Don't let it out. It's not smart on your part. It's not intelligent. Luis Robert, like I said, he's also one who I'm not as surprised as Crochet that he's still here. That's the one that I'm a little bit like, okay. There was never any chance of Moncada getting traded. He's out of sight, out of mind. Nobody's seen him. Can't even remember the last time he picked up a bat and had a professional at bat in the big leagues. Nobody's checking for him. He's not getting traded anytime soon. And at the end of this year, I don't even know where he's going to be playing baseball at in terms of the majors. So Crochet is really the big one to where if he really wanted to see himself get traded, he should have kept his mouth shut and not said anything. I think that more than anything else hurt his leverage in the trade market. It hurt the White Sox and Chris Getz's leverage, in the trade market. No one was done any favors by him letting that information get released out there. Nobody. Don't run your mouth so quickly, young man. Keep it under wraps. Like, I'm always pro player, but that's not the type of stuff you should be saying right now. Now, if he's
it allowed us to keep him, so I'm not too mad. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah, and I think we've both been pretty steadfast in saying that ideally the White Sox should keep Crochet, right? Because who are you going to acquire, whether it's via a trade or in the draft, that you can automatically project is going to be as good as Garrett Crochet is right now? Like that's all you'd basically be doing is spinning your wheels. We're going to trade away a Garrett Crochet for prospects that we hope can be as good as Garrett Crochet is, right? And unless you fix your business model and business practices and how you handle things on the baseball side of things, we're going to be right back here in 3-4 more years trading away that next guy. So, I mean, they should keep him and they should build with him. I'm not necessarily saying build around a starting pitcher because that's not really that's not ideal either. But they should keep him and build with him and make the team better around him, along with other pieces like a Robert, etc., going all down the line. Not Vaughn, though. Vaughn got to figure some things out and find his way again. But yeah, man, Garrett Crochet, unless Garrett Crochet is sitting here with 2 Cy Youngs under his belt, back to back or something like that, I don't think you should be letting those types of conversations get made public, bro. Learn to shut up every once in a while.
Assuming he or his agent leaked it.
Assuming he or his agent leaked it, yeah. Either one can, exercise a bit more restraint next time and not let that type of information get out there. Because, like I said, I felt like they hurt their own leverage and the White Sox leverage.
Could have been the teams that we're talking in Crochet and we're like, we're not doing that, and they told me just putting that out there. Could have been them.
Anything's possible for sure. You cannot deny that. And look, Crochet may still end up getting traded in the winter meetings. That cannot be dismissed either. So at the end of this season, when everything rolls around and we start talking about baseball's winter meetings, Crochet will once again be a major topic of discussion in terms of possible trades. But as of right now, he's still in the White Sox, but there's a lot of other players who are not on the White Sox who definitely got sent elsewhere.
Yeah, it's been an interesting week, not weeks. Well, let me start before if my laptop goes out, no worries. I have my phone here to pick up the pieces. But we could start with the Dodgers traded us their third baseman, Miguel Vargas, Alexander Albertus, JL Perez. So all their minor league or backups, and a player to be named later and cash for Michael Kopech. Dang, the Kopech experiment is officially over. He is now going to the Dodgers to either play relief pitcher, middle relief, or maybe he even makes it to the rotation, but I doubt it. I think they pretty much got their rotation set. Then Chicago.
Kopech's not starting for them. No chance he starts for them.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Then also we traded away surprisingly, because I didn't think he would get us that much for him, Eric Fetty and outfielder Tommy Pham, who had a grand slam, by the way, his first game back, and cash to the St. Louis Cardinals. And St. Louis Cardinals traded over shortstop Tommy Edman and the right-handed pitcher Oliver Gonzalez to the Dodgers in like a 3-way trade. So good for Cardinals getting Fetty and Pham. Then the other big one, where is it at? Oh, well, one of the big ones. We traded away Paul DeJong to the Kansas City Royals for another right-handed pitcher, Gerald Rosado. Never heard of him. Then we traded away. Oh, the big one that we were shocked. We traded away left fielder. They're calling him left fielder. Eloy Jimenez and cash to Baltimore for left-handed pitcher. So we got a lefty in Trey Magoo. So that's an interesting one, because I didn't think, well, at least I did, but a lot of people told me Eloy had no trade value. Vince, Eloy had no trade value to get traded. And look at Eloy, payday producer. Look at Eloy getting traded to the Orioles, which I actually think I picked them in an earlier episode as a candidate to get Eloy, and I'm shocked they went for the bait. His injury proneness is a big issue. His inability to play anything in the outfield is a big issue, but they did just activate Matt Holliday's son, Jackson Holliday. They got a sophomore killing in Colton Krauser, Gunnar Henderson. All those guys are just killing it offensively, and but Westbrook, I think it's Jordan Westbrook, the second baseman who was made the All-Star and is killing. He just broke his hand today, so they got all these big bats coming up just in time with the loss of Westbrook. That is the biggest shocker trade. Let's start with the Eloy Jimenez trade. What do you think about that move?
That's the one that honestly surprised me the most, because I felt like it's the one that is the most out of left field.
Pun intended? Did you intend that pun right there?
I did not. Good catch.
Okay.
Yeah, that definitely surprised me, for real. I was not expecting Eloy to get traded at all. Certainly not to the Orioles, because I don't believe they need him. I think they just recalled Jackson Holliday, who's their top prospect and number one prospect in all of baseball, and he hit
Matt Holliday's kid.
Hit a grand slam, his first home run of his career.
Oh, sorry. No, one more trade. I forgot about this guy, Tanner Banks. He got traded to Phillies for William Bergolla, but he was a horrible closer. But I'm sorry, but continue.
No, you straight. I don't see a use for Eloy there. Like, this almost feels like, yeah, I'm gonna do you a favor, bro. Like, I don't know if Chris Getz just has somebody that he's really tight with in the Orioles organization, and they just was like, hey man, do me a favor and just take this guy, and he said okay. I don't know. I don't understand it. There's not really a place for him even as a DH. Like, I feel like they got better DHs than him. Maybe Eloy discovers how to magically stay healthy and run the bases without getting injured in Baltimore, which he couldn't do here for some reason. After a while, I don't know. There's not really a use for him there. Wish him all the best, though. Not gonna diss him or anything like that. Hopefully he has some success, but what is he gonna do? He's gonna pinch hit for them? I don't see the need. So that's the one that certainly surprised me. 100% surprised me. Kopech getting moved, that made sense. That's a deal that you could definitely see coming. I said on the previous show that Getz, absolutely wanted to trade Kopech, so that did not surprise me whatsoever. It was just a matter of him putting together enough good performances to where Getz could actually say, hey, this kid, the talent is still there. You see it. Here you go. That's really the only thing it was with Kopech. So definitely didn't surprise me at all. Fetty is another one. Fetty was, in all honesty, Fetty was the most likely player on the White Sox to get traded after Crochet. And obviously we know Crochet did not go. Fetty has been, I mean, I don't want to be too hyperbolic or anything like that, but Fetty has been great for the most part. He's had a stretch there where his performances were quality starts. Like he was going out there and he was getting the job done. He was handling business. So it made sense for Fetty to get traded. So Tommy Pham, when the White Sox were going through a stretch where they were actually started to score some more runs, Tommy Pham was a big key to that. So him getting traded made sense. So all of these trades, there was an element to them that made sense to me. Tanner Banks is another one. Like these players make sense that they got traded. Paul DeJong, yeah, I guess. I guess doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Don't necessarily care. Wasn't a big Paul DeJong fan. Nothing I saw from him and nothing he did made a lot of sense to me. He got traded to the Royals. Didn't matter. Yeah, but I think the Cardinals did well in their trade, getting Fetty and Pham. The Dodgers are the Dodgers. I mean, they don't usually make bad deals. Whatever Kopech is, whatever his true ceiling is and his top level talent, the Dodgers are a good enough organization that they will get it out of him. And we'll likely see a better Kopech than we've seen in quite some time. So kudos to them and to him. Again, I wish all these players success, and hopefully they all do something positive going forward.
No, it's a solid look. Coincidentally, all the everyday players that they traded were the worst defensively at their position as far as defensive rating in the league, each guy. The only one that we didn't trade that was the worst at his defensive position that we still somehow kept. But I'm sure there were talks where our backup catcher, because I still put Corey Lee as our starter, and Maldonado.
No, he got DFA'd a long time ago. He's not on the team.
Oh, I was just going by the defensive ratings. He was the only one that was the worst at his position that wasn't moved at all. That's on our that was on our roster at any point this season. Paul DeJong, I believe, was the worst rated defensive shortstop. Eloy Jimenez, even though he doesn't honestly play any other position, the last time he played, his defensive rating was terrible, and then now his offense is terrible. That's more because of injuries. The only ones that were in a positive number or a close to even number, I believe, was, from what I saw the stats, was Vaughn Moncada pre-injury, and I forgot who's our Robert, and then somebody said Bertinelli improved. So I wasn't too shocked about DeJong getting traded, but he was
Bertinelli.
What's his face?
You mean Benintendi?
Benintendi. I keep saying, thinking of the red. Benintendi. My bad. Yeah, Benintendi. Yeah, but they said Paul DeJong's defensive plus minus was getting historically bad. But I liked that he had an offense. The guy hit a lot of home runs for a shortstop. You don't see too many shortstops hit a lot of home runs outside of Gunnar Henderson. So it's nice to see that. But I think this is a team that lacks defense. That's probably not going to get it with this manager. And I don't know who the next guy is, but it's a clear roster overhaul. But yeah, like we said earlier, I don't know what we can do with the roster. I keep thinking Bertinelli in my head.
So aside from how funny that is, because Chicagoans can't pronounce. I'm telling you, can't pronounce shit, boy, for real.
Bertinelli is a pizza, right?
Where did you get Bertinelli from?
I don't know. That's been stuck in my head for.
Is there a pizza place somewhere? I ain't never heard of a Bertinelli's. Where did that come from?
That is definitely Bertinelli is a wine.
Yo, that was left field like a muck. Like, where did
Look
Okay.
at you with the baseball pens again. Well, Bertinelli is definitely a wine. I thought it was a pizza too. I know it's a wine.
Okay, but segue off of that because I'm gonna be too busy laughing. Yeah, there's no saving or rehabbing what's currently going on this year. You just can't do it. So last thing that I would say we can discuss quickly, and I do mean emphasis on quickly. One of the ways that you could potentially fix this again for next year, after you get rid of Pedro Gafal, is you got to hire the right managerial candidate. There's already rumors about potential managerial candidates. One of them is a former White Sox player of recent championship vintage. And that's AJ Pierzynski.
I heard rumors are spreading.
What do you think about that?
I don't know how I think about that because he never managed before. I'm to the point where I don't want another. It's like the president. Do you really want another president, another guy who's never been in politics before to run the country? I don't want another. Hey, your first time job is going to be the White Sox. First time manager job is going to be the White Sox. I don't want that. I want someone experienced. I remember before.
It
Tony,
damn sure couldn't hurt or get any worse.
It can't, but I don't want to be every manager's stepping stone role to potentially go over to someone else. I remember we could have had before La Russa, AJ, what's his face? AJ Hinkie, I think his name's pronounced. Like we really wanted him after he got let go from the
These
Astros.
names kicking your ass for real right now.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But that's not the.
But go ahead, I got you.
Yeah. But like I want an experienced manager. Like I understand that, hey, AJ's a great guy. He's got White Sox lineage. He won a championship with us. He knows what to do, but he's just never been in a manager role. My guess is he's coming in not really having a system, not having a staff. He knows what wins from the player's perspective, but that's totally different from the manager's perspective. I just don't want a bunch of trial and error guys that we need a bigger curve to hope they make things work.
So my counter to that would be, as a baseball manager, what's the most important thing? That's establishing a culture, and it's managing the bullpen in tight situations. AJ was a catcher. It's basically what a catcher did, right? I mean, you're managing your pitching staff through tight situations in ball games.
Well, let me ask you this:
you're going to be a part of setting the culture.
Are most managers former catchers? I don't think they are, but I don't know. I've never looked that up.
I'm not saying most managers are former catchers. There is definitely a line that connects former catchers to being managers. That's for certain. But I'm just saying, in terms of not having previous managerial experience, I wouldn't necessarily rule them out based off of that criteria alone. But another potential rumor is a former manager who does have all the managerial experience you could ever ask for, and that is and was Terry Francona.
Yep, I heard about that.
So if managerial experience is a hard line for you, a hard stop, what about Terry Francona?
I would love Terry Francona. I think he is also not the yes man that's going to say yes to everything gets, or even Reinsdorf wants. I think he's going to be like, hey, do you guys want to win or not? This is what we need to do. I know you guys are looking to trade this guy, but let's keep him for the season. I feel like with experience, doesn't necessarily come a greater skill level per se, but hey, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm going to do. Less, okay, whatever you want gets. I'll do it, and I'll play ball. I think Terry Francona is going to come in, and he's just going to not necessarily clean house, but there's going to be an authority figure. It might just be guessing, but I think a lot of newer managers are more friends with all the players versus managers to the players. And in my opinion, I think that's what gets a lot of these managers in trouble. They're friends, they hang out, especially first-time managers. They're overly nice. Whatever Terry Francona is doing, he might bring that more old-school mentality, more, hey, look at all the guys I've managed before. This is what wins. This is what I'm going to install. I just want a brand new system that's already been proven that he's going to put his foot down, if that makes any sense.
I got you. It probably costs more money though.
Hey, we're already paying Grafal the second highest in the league. So if there's one place Jerry apparently spends money, it's on managers.
That still doesn't
I
make
am
sense to me,
okay with that.
So yeah, I mean, we'll have to see what happens. I mean, those would be interesting options. Based on the White Sox and what Reinsdorf does, it'll probably be neither one of those two.
Now, do you have an issue with Francona's age? Because he's up there.
Well, the main issue that I have with Francona is he healthy enough? Like, he had to step down basically from managing Cleveland because he wasn't healthy enough. Like, he had a lot of health issues that kind of forced him to stay away. So if he's healthy enough, he's a terrific candidate. I mean, he's got World Series experience. He knows what to do in all situations. He can definitely establish a culture for you. He could be a terrific candidate. Much more so than AJ. Again, I don't have anything against AJ, but kind of to what you said as well, he's never done the job. I wouldn't rule him out strictly for not having done the job, though. I would rule him out if I feel like someone else is simply a better candidate for the job. Francona would be a better candidate for the job because he's got a resume that's impeccable in the job role. So you couldn't turn your nose up at that and say, nah, he's not good enough. Like, of course he's good enough. He's got all the plaques on the wall already to prove that he's good enough for it.
There's one dark horse rumor that it isn't picking up, but every once in a while I hear it, and I'm like, I don't think that's possible. A return of Ozzy.
That always floats out every 15 minutes. Personally speaking, so I don't want Ozzy to come back. Not really, because I dislike Ozzy. But I like Ozzy's current role analyzing the White Sox from a studio perspective because I think he's hilarious.
He is.
2, I don't want him tainting his managerial record by managing this team. Like, his record already has enough. Let's say he's already got enough black marks on his managerial record, and enough good ones as well. He doesn't need to add any more by coming back to manage this current iteration of the White Sox. So I wouldn't want him back for that reason. Love Ozzy, but I would tell him, if I was advising him and I was in his circle, I'd say stay away. The job you have right now is perfect. Your home life balance, I'm sure that's perfect. Stay where you at. Just comment on this team.
He's bored. I know his sons. They play a lot of intramural softball in the city. Ozzy's bored. He is itching to get back. His sons are all grown and out the house.
That's the thing, though. That's part of why it always gets interesting if he can potentially make his way back. Because I don't think there's much interest from any other teams potentially with Ozzy. I could be wrong. I think the one team that there would possibly be an interest in would be the White Sox. But I would tell him stay away just because, like, in the studio, like he's gold in the studio. I laugh every time I watch Ozzy in the studio.
Absolute gold.
It's just comedy. Like, I know I'm gonna get something to laugh about every single time I turn the studio show on. So
facts.
Stay there. As the manager, I'm not gonna get that same Ozzy. Like, not saying he's gonna be filtered Ozzy, but he's not gonna be up there just giving me jokes every time the camera's on. That's not gonna happen. He's gonna have to actually analyze his team from the manager's dugout position, not from just being a studio host. So don't do it, Ozzy. Stay where you at. But yeah, man, I think we just about done. I mean, we could potentially look at the schedule and see where the next win can come from, because
absolutely not. We're not going to torture our fans with that this episode. No. What I would like to see is the next episode that we get here, we talk about the games the White Sox won. I think that's a good strategy. So the next time we come on, I want to be like, hey, guess who just won yesterday versus the Yankees? Oh, I think we play the Cubs again pretty soon. Am I off? That should be an easy win. Our
No,
streak.
I was gonna say in the next 10 games, we do play the North Side team in the next 10 games.
Oh yeah. Well, let me thank the Cubs in advance for helping us end our streak and adding an L to them, because even though they scored like 12 runs today, they can't hit. We can't hit. So I want to thank the Cubs now for helping us helping us get some wins, so we can avoid that all-time streak and end this current streak. So thank you in advance, Cubs. Ain't no damn way y'all gonna sweep us.
I mess with that. But
So no,
we good.
All right. Well, outside of that, hopefully next week, everyone, we get back here and we talk about the games we won, not the games we're going to win, because I don't want to talk about games we're going to win until we won some. It's very anti-productive. With that being said, thank you for talk trash about the White Sox and hopefully talk about how we can improve, because this right now isn't it, but we're getting better. We've got a lot of young talent, and thank you all for watching and keeping up with us. All right, peace out.
Thanks for checking out this latest edition from the Frustrated Chicago Sports Fan channel. Whether you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or watching on Twitch or YouTube, do the same. Like, subscribe, share with a friend, hit the notification bell so you never miss a drop. And to all my homies in Chicago, we say 3 things: bear down, go Cubs go, and sell the team, Jerry.